Welcome back to Real Estate Mindset. Today's video is going to be absolutely bonkers. Now, the data is in and the housing market recovery has now been canceled unless you know the reality of what the housing market recovery actually is, which is a housing market crash. And don't worry, today we're going to go into all of the Redfin updated trends. The trends, as I was hoping, are starting to reverse. Now, personally, I just got back from San Antonio and Austin, and I was able to find new construction homes that were priced under 30% of 2022 average values in both San Antonio and Austin. I'm really looking forward to releasing that series of videos, starting with the first one being released on Sunday. But regardless, today we're going to dig in heavily to all of the trends. I'm going to show you guys that they're actually reversing. We're going to start on a video from Jerome Powell so that I can remind you guys what Jerome Powell is trying to tell the public. And before I continue, please understand, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just a normal, disgruntled American that's frustrated with renting that had a foreclosure, bankruptcy, and repo. Even though my bio is as a realtor, loan officer, and instructor in real estate in Texas. And if you guys can, please, for my efforts, if you like my content, do me a favor, y'all. Please, from the bottom of my heart, I'd like to ask you, please like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, shoot me a comment below, and definitely hit notifications. And no, I drop my videos at 4 p.m. every single day.
Since our previous FOMC meeting, economic indicators have generally come in stronger than expected, demonstrating greater momentum in economic activity and inflation. We believe, however, that events in the banking system over the past 2 weeks are likely to result in tighter credit conditions for households and businesses, which would in turn affect economic outcomes. It is too soon to determine the extent of these effects, and therefore too soon to tell how monetary policy should respond. As a result, we no longer state that we anticipate that ongoing rate increases will be appropriate to quell inflation. Instead, we now anticipate that some additional policy firming may be appropriate.
So quick reminder, Jerome Powell is specifically saying that he might not need to continue to raise rates as long as the market demonstrates credit tightening and credit restriction. And that actually makes a lot of sense. The thing is we still haven't really had that credit restriction on a residential financing level. But I just wanted to remind you guys that he's not saying pivot. He's not even saying he's going to go down or stop raising interest rates. He's saying that he believes that he will not have to raise the rates as much so long as the market starts tightening credit.
Some additional hikes may be, some policy firming may be appropriate. So going forward, as I mentioned, in assessing the need for further hikes, we'll be focused, as always, on the incoming data and the evolving outlook, and in particular on our assessment of the actual and expected effects of credit tightening.
He's saying, so long as the effects of credit tightening have enough teeth to stop demand and inflation going up.
Really, I would focus on the words may and some, as opposed to ongoing. So we clearly were, what we were doing there was taking on board trying to reflect the uncertainty about what will happen. I mean, it's possible that this will turn out to have very modest effects. These events will turn out to be very, very modest effects on the economy, in which case, and inflation will continue to be strong, in which case, the path will might look different. It's also possible that this potential tightening will contribute significant tightening in credit conditions over time, and in principle, if that means that monetary policy may have less work to do. We simply don't know.
Essentially, that's Jerome Powell saying that if credit isn't tightened up enough and inflation goes up, then he's going to have to do something about it. So, it is quite possible that if inflation does continue to go up, especially in shelter and in the housing market, odds are Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve will continue to hike interest rates. Really important to understand that inflation going out of control is actually a much worse scenario than what we're in right now. Now, quickly, what I want to do is I want to go over a map real quick because I want to give you guys my updated hypothesis on why the housing market is crashing in some areas and is not crashing in other areas. Because now that we have, more data and I've actually had time to reflect on everything that's going on, I have a better hypothesis on why things are doing what they're doing. So I'm going to pull up a map from RJ Talks, you guys, and I'll have that linked in my description if you guys want to get a membership or subscription. I think it's like $12. Y'all don't need it. You can just watch my channel. but it is a nice interactive map with different data sources. So I'm going to access the Redfin map that's going to show us peak to trough and how much house prices have gone down or actually have gone up. And really what I want to point out is from my travels, I'm seeing that new construction is leading the housing market. So I'm seeing significant price declines in many metro areas that have significant, new home construction, especially in Texas, like Houston. Austin's down 15.89%, right? San Antonio's down 7.6%. So I believe that we're seeing, strong price cuts here in Texas specifically as a result of the overwhelming amount of new construction. As far as the massive price declines on pretty much the entire Western coast, okay, all the way up to Seattle, Washington, all the way down to, like San Diego. Now, here's the thing, okay, in places like Seattle or even San Diego, San Francisco, they have price decline without excessive new construction, okay? So we have to understand that different markets are declining or even going up for different reasons. So I believe the reason why we see all of this decline on the West Coast is number one reason, it's super duper unaffordable. Number two reason, mass migration out of the state. Number three, crime. Number four, a deteriorating job market. Tech sector, right? Silicon Valley, right? Obviously those things take a hit. So I think that's what's going on here. And I think that we could really assume that because most of these areas with significant decline don't have massive amounts of new construction like Texas does. And if we look here, like in an area like San Diego, now San Diego right now from peak to trough is down 4%, but that's not because of new construction. I went there myself. I was able to find a ton, but comparatively, San Diego does not have a ton of new construction. The reason why prices are going down in San Diego, I believe, are two reasons. Number one, crime or homelessness. And number two, quite frankly, the overwhelming amount of unaffordability. So I think that's what we're saying. Now, in places like Boise, right here, you can see Boise's down 17%. The reason for the decline here is, yes, we have new construction, but also we have a deteriorating job market. Tech jobs are getting hammered. Plus, also, it had a huge run up during COVID. So again, we're seeing in Boise, I believe, new construction, migration out, and a job market that's starting to fall apart. Now, places like Las Vegas, I believe, is going down, and that's double-digit decline, almost entirely as a result of overwhelming new construction topped with unaffordability. And that's what we're seeing here. And overall, you can see from this entire map that most of the US is actually down from peak. Now, there are some areas that are still going up. For example, areas in Florida. Now, let's talk about Florida, and then I'll really dig into the Redfin. Now, I believe that Florida has been so resilient for three reasons. The number one reason is mass migration. So there is a mass migration in Florida. Okay, so it's keeping it strong. But the thing is, there's also a mass migration in Houston. I've read that Houston, the number two metro area of migration, yet in Houston, I have price declines in Houston. Why is it that Houston has such a high migration, but prices are still going down? Number two, Florida is also a huge state of second homes and basically spectators. So there is an overwhelming amount of people that are investing in real estate, either as vacation homes, Airbnb, and short-term rentals. Plus, the other thing is relatively compared to the rest of the nation, New York, because that's where most people are coming from, to Florida, it's comparatively a lot cheaper than living downtown New York, and you have the added benefit of a sunny beach. So in other words, we're seeing different metro areas significantly impacted for different reasons. Now, if we really look at the East Coast, the problem with the East Coast and why some of those places have rebounded, I believe, is, once again, lack of new construction homes. If an area, and let's just actually talk about Jeff's area, he sees prices either stabilizing, possibly going up. And I believe that there's three reasons for that. The number one reason is he has no new construction homes. So he has basically no new construction homes, and that's going to lead the housing market. But number two, it's also in a relatively affordable area. It's a comparatively affordable area. The number three thing, because it's affordable, people are migrating there out of expensive cities. So he has a few things that are not going in his favor, whereas in my metro area, I have many things that are going in my favor, except mass migration into Houston. So I think it's really important to understand that just because some metro areas are crashing and others are not, absolutely not mean that the housing market isn't broken. What it means is real estate is hyper local, that there are more trends involved here that are preventing the housing market from resetting. And I believe in order for the housing market to recover, the prices have to crash. They have to. It's a horrible thing for any current homeowners, that purchased 2022 and on. But unfortunately, it's something that I believe is going to have to be done to get things back in balance. But anyways, guys, that's just a quick hypothesis. Let's jump into the Redfin article now. Name of our new Redfin article is Housing Market Update. Buyers can't buy if sellers can't sell, but new construction is flourishing. I'll tell you guys that. Again, this is from April 13th. Now, new listings of homes for sale are down 25% from a year ago, marking the 8th straight month of double-digit declines. That's making it difficult for buyers to find homes, but giving some sellers a competitive edge. And I just want to talk about that competitive edge. That's in reality, a competitive edge is going to be given to a seller if they have a very favorable house that is priced right under market value. And that's just how real estate works, even if it's an up or down cycle. If you have a great house, you price it right, it's going to sell. That's why we need prices to come down. People are reluctant to sell because they don't want to give up their low mortgage rate. But the reality of that is they also don't want a super high payment. It's not just the rate, it's also prices, right? So rate and price equals payment. The bright side for homeowners who are listed now is that desirable, well-priced homes are being snapped up in bidding wars in markets where demand outpaces supply. So again, I think that's a very, very dangerous narrative, because I think what we're seeing is the emotion running back into the market because it's buying season right now. Nevertheless, regardless if people are buying overpriced houses or not, the industry is crippled. Sales are down significantly. Prices are declining in many metro areas. But let's read more. And this is why I feel like we're seeing significant price declines in some areas and not in other areas, because resale new listings are lagging, but new construction is flourishing. New listings from a year ago in all 50 of the most populous U.S. metro areas, with the biggest declines in California. They dropped the most in Sacramento. So it's really, really amazing if you guys consider that Sacramento and Oakland don't have an abundance necessarily of new construction. Their new listings are down 47%, yet those two metro areas are almost leading in price decline. And that's why I'm saying right there is what we see there is not excessive new construction like we see other places. What we see there is unaffordability, mass migration out, and crime and homelessness. Many buyers aren't held back by high mortgage rates. It's the lack of inventory. You know how many people are priced out right now? I'm just saying, tremendous amount of people are priced out right now, specifically the local. Lack of inventory that's really getting in their way. I have several clients who are serious about buying a home, but they're actively looking, but they can't find anything right now, and they're waiting for more homes to trickle onto the market. And you guys, please don't forget that we are heading into inventory dump months. Right now, we're supposed to have low inventory. We're just now getting into the increased inventory months. Buyers have more option in other parts of the country. In Nashville, Tennessee, for instance, new listings and pending sales were both down about 12% from a year earlier. Inventory isn't a major problem here because the greater Nashville area is sprawling and there's a lot of newly built homes on the market. So do y'all see what I'm saying? New build construction is really, really impacting the housing market right now. Builders went big on the outskirts of the city over the last few years, and now they're offering incentives to attract buyers to the point where individual sellers are having a hard time competing. Do y'all remember me saying that new construction prices will go down so far as to start affecting the resale market? That's when we'll see price drop wars. And actually, I'm already starting to see that in my local market here in Houston, depending on exactly where in the local market, because again, hyperlocal. Two new pieces of economic data serve of tea leaves we can read to anticipate how mortgage rates will trend over the next few months. It's unlikely they'll skyrocket, but it's also unlikely they'll come down enough to motivate locked-in home owners to sell. And that's what I've been trying to tell y'all. The interest rates have been like, in between 6 and 7% this whole time. All we've been seeing really is emotion. The rates are the same. It's like a roller coaster ride with these interest rates. The Fed has made some progress cooling inflation with rate hikes, but there's still work to be done. Y'all agree with that, right? And to those of you, specifically, a lot of them are realtors, and there are good realtors. Most of them are trash. You guys know that. But, to the ones that are saying, oh, people don't understand what's happening, the housing market isn't crashing, you just don't know how to read the data. If you guys hear that, ask them to explain why almost 50% of the top US metro areas have year-over-year decline. Ask them why Austin's down 20% from peak. Ask them those questions and hear how they attempt to explain those things away. Home prices falling in more than half of the US. So I just don't think they understand the data, y'all, and they choose not to understand the data because they got to make money. The median home sales price fell 2.3% year over year. Prices fell significantly more than that in some metro areas, but rose in others. Now, 29 of the 50 most populous U.S. metro areas had year-over-year price declines, starting with the biggest drop, and I just got back from Austin at 14% drop year over year. From peak to trough, it's much more. Now, that's going to be followed by several West Coast metro areas like Oakland, San Francisco, Seattle, Sacramento. So when I hear realtors in California acting like there's no housing market crash, when they live in the #1 state of housing market crash, and they still are not acknowledging the possibility of risk, it's trash. They're leeches, you guys. And here's what happens. They put out a video, and even if they get a lot of hate, it's okay with them because they still get maybe 2 or 3 leads from that video, and they can make tens of thousands of dollars off of just one lead. In other words, they don't care if they get roasted. They don't care if they're leading people off a cliff of financial suicide. All they need is 1 or 2 people to believe in what they're saying for them to continue to make money off of leading people off a financial cliff of ruin. Going into the leading indicators, rates dropped to 6.27, but the daily average was 6.42. Now, as of making of this video, rates are actually averaging at 6.50. But remember, if you have any challenges whatsoever in life, more than likely your rate's actually going to be in the 7% still right now. Now, here's the kicker. Purchase applications were down 31% from a year earlier. That is a huge impact. So we already know sales is crashing, right? Sales is crashing, just not in every metro area. So we have sales crash, we've had price crash, it's spreading. Home buying demand is down 21% year over year. We have Google searches down 18% year over year as well. The median home price was $364,000. That's down 2.3% from a year earlier. The biggest decline in more than a decade, in the 7th week in a row of prices declining annually. After more than a decade of increases, the latter is according to Redfin's monthly data set, which goes back through 2012. So again, I get that some metro areas aren't experiencing that overwhelming price decline like we're seeing in a lot of other areas, but it has to start somewhere. We can't just snap our fingers and the entire market is crashing. So to the people that are calling us like crash bros and derogatory, first, what I want to say is thank you for uniting our community. And the second thing I'd like to say is y'all just do not understand your job. Actually, I take that back. Y'all understand your job very well, which is to ignore the data and to sell people on buying a house. So I just wanted to give you a round of applause for continuing to manipulate people, even in the face of clear data trends. And the fact is, y'all, that realtors overall have completely failed our society and should be held accountable. Because here's the thing, I can absolutely tell you for sure, and I've been doing this for 2 decades, they play off people's emotions, and if it ever comes back to them that they gave bad advice or they misled someone, they're always going to say the same thing. It was your decision. I'm just a realtor. It's an ugly game. All right, so it's time to visualize some data. We can see that median sales price is down 2.3% year over year. So the people are like, it's not crashing. Y'all need to wake up and actually just get off of YouTube. You're killing people. The fact that, the lack of caution in the realtor industry is just shocking. But look at y'all. So again, this is what I think is going to happen. Once we're probably the end of May, probably like about right here, I think it's going to be a whiplash downward. Okay, I think it's going to be a whiplash downward. I'm hoping that we go under that blue line, which would mean that we would have, the average median sales price under 2021 values. So that's what I see happening. Seriously decline towards the end of May, because that's, towards the time when we have massive inventory dump. And when people start realizing that there's not a whole bunch of buyer demand and that cat's out of the bag, then that's when I believe that emotion is going to start hitting people, that those pricing decline wars are going to start to happen in most metro areas, specifically and especially metro areas with overwhelming amounts of construction. All right, now moving on to median asking price. Now, JohnniFly, this one's for you. Johnny was nervous because median asking price was actually outpacing 2022 levels. And I made a video last week and I'm like, you guys, it's finally not outpacing anymore. I thought in 2 weeks we would actually be under, but this is week 1. And look at how close we are to being under 2022. Look at that. See that? So that orange line is almost, Johnny, is almost under. All right. So right now it's basically matched. Now I said my last video 2 weeks. So what I'm thinking is next week when I do this video, median asking price is going to be under 2022 median asking price average. And that's a really, really good thing, because we know that median asking price leads median sales price. Home buyer housing payments. Now look at this, y'all. It's only saying it's only up 11.3% year over year. But when we just look 3 years back, our payments were way down here. Our payments were under $1,700 on average. Our payments right now are over $2,500. But really what I want to point out is, for the last year, mortgage rates have been in here. Mortgage payments have been in here for the last year. So people are like, oh, the rates are flipping. We got to go buy right now. The housing market, people are going to rush back in. Hurrah, YOLO, let's go. But the reality is, no, they haven't. There may have been, a fluctuation of $200, but there's still, even at a fluctuation of $200, it's still almost $1,000 higher. So do y'all see what I'm saying? The interest rates, and I hope the interest rates stay like this, but we've been between $2,200 and $2,500 this entire time. So what are people talking about, right? Y'all see my point? But as far as week over week, it's actually been plateauing. So week over week, it's actually been about the same. Kind of crazy. All of these realtors are like, oh, the rates are down. It's time to buy. YOLO, let's go. I love it, y'all. This is what I wanted to see right here. This is the months of supply available on the market. Y'all, I was worried. Y'all, remember I told you, just wait. Y'all, just wait. The trends are reversing, right? The trends are reversing. Look at this massive downward, decline for months available on the market. The reason, again, that is people flooded back in and probably took all the nice houses, and now we're left with trash again. This is not an indication of buying demand flourishing back in. It's an indication of the lack of resale inventory, right? But the good thing is this. Look at the trend. It plateaued last week, like I said, and it inched up. Okay, so it inched up. And again, more than likely, this is what I'm saying, from this point forward, because we are going into inventory dump months, more than likely this is going to go up. Okay, it's probably going to go up like this. And I'm specifically saying there's no way in most metro areas that demand will outpace supply, except I believe in metro areas like what Jeff has, where he has like no inventory resale, he has like no inventory new home. Things are relatively, for the area, affordable. There's still migration in there. I think, to be honest with you guys, what we need to see in areas like that is we need to see more boots hit the ground, especially when it comes to investors, because don't forget this, investor share is through the roof right now. So if these big time investors, and I'm talking institutional investors, have to liquidate as a result of any number of black swan events, that's going to create inventory explosions in metro areas that are heavy with investor share. So we see about 28% of homes sold for above final list price. So about 1 in 4 homes are still selling for above final list price. But again, you guys, this is way down. Still above 2020, but it is way below 2021 and 2022. And, the reality is we kind of want to see that go down, but we're also assuming that sellers are listing for over market value. And I think that's a safe assumption. So I think what we're seeing here is, again, the well-priced houses are going to sell. A house will sell in any market if it's priced right. That's a fact. So we have another leading indicator here, which is listings that had price cuts. This is up 4.9%. So 4.9% of listings had price cuts. And I really want to point out this is higher than, this is like way higher than it's been in the last 3 to 4 years. So we're at 4.9%. Now, week over week, it's plateaued. We don't want to see a plateau. We obviously want to see this, go up like that. That is a leading indicator when it comes to interest rates. So we'll keep our eye on that. Here's where we'll end. Redfin Home Buying Demand Index, that's down 21% year over year. And to be honest with you, it should be down much more than that, in my opinion. But you can see we're still well under 2022 and we're well under 2021. We are over 2020, but remember, this was the lockdown period right here. So it makes sense that we would be over 2020 level. And essentially, this is what we need to continue to get crippled. And I'll make the argument that buying demand has already been completely gutted. And there's no way that the housing market crashes over. You want to know why? The Federal Reserve is still doing quantitative tightening. Anyone that says the housing market crashes over more than likely has some type of financial gain they can make by the housing market doing good. And anyone that's saying that, y'all, they don't understand how these things work. If the Federal Reserve stopped doing quantitative tightening and we had a period of time where trends show the housing market is safe and healthy, then okay, you can say that. But the only reason people are saying that right now, you guys, is to get you to buy a home. So don't forget that. And just in case any of the haters or doubters are watching, just take a look at the S&P Shiller U.S. National Home Price Index. Look at it drop. Right now, home values and home prices have dropped at a faster pace than the last bubble. So again, and do you guys see that? Has this gone up? Is this plateaued? It hasn't. And I know this is lagging, but this is a very important indicator to a lot of people. This hasn't even rebounded yet. So why are people saying what they're saying, except for the fact that they're salesmen and their job isn't to tell you the truth? Now, in conclusion, the housing market crash is here. In conclusion, the housing market crash is still going on. What's important to understand, however, is that different metro areas are behaving differently, and they're behaving differently for various reasons. But one thing we know right now for sure is the Federal Reserve is still doing quantitative tightening. We still are in a situation with elevated interest rates that have doubled in just 1 year. So we are still going through this journey. The Federal Reserve has not taken us off this course. Now, as we continue to go through this journey, we're probably going to start seeing additional black swans. Now, depending on the type of black swan, more than likely the Federal Reserve is going to sprinkle fairy dust of money printing over the black swan. But here's the thing, so long as the Federal Reserve keeps us on this journey, it's okay, because it's not over yet, and things are getting worse and things are getting harder. So the longer that we're on this journey, you guys, the more likely the price crash will continue and finally make it to your metro area. But another question is will they drop enough for homes to become affordable? And the answer to that question, you guys, is no. There are some metro areas, for example, Hollywood. If Hollywood, California goes down 70%, I still can't afford that. Right? So if I wanted to afford that, what are things I could do? I can try to get out of debt completely. I could try to make more money. I can save my money and I can make it more affordable for myself. But what I'm talking about right now is the prices, right? There's so much noise. There's so much yelling. There's so much difference in opinions. I'm specifically talking about right now, prices. So other than that, guys, I hope you guys got some new value, insights, and perspective. And if you're out there investing in real estate, I wish you luck and I hope you win.